Vex robotics, and these programs are run on either Windows or Android systems to help engage the kids in future learning. We have made a strong effort to reduce the amount of labs. I could say just for one school to bring out would be Beaufort High School. Less than 5 years ago, they had 16 labs. So it's been a conscious effort that we've worked with instruction and the school administration to help repurpose these labs and let the schools know that there's a lot of stuff that can be done on the student's laptop, and you don't need these labs for as many programs, only for some specialized applications.
Ingrid?
Yeah, I mean, what Mark was saying, having kids in the school, my son's going to be in that Project Lead the Way computer program. I think part of it is, though, it's almost a naming problem, because in my mind, I see them as technology labs. I mean, we could do 3D printing, we could do computer repair and technology. I think that the idea that this is a computer lab where you come and get your little dot matrix printer to print out your reading assignment, you know, maybe we should just sort of rebrand them a little bit for this year, call them like technology labs, or Google Maker has a great program. Do we have any Google Maker spaces in the schools? Mark?
Colleen?
Do you have any? Oh, Colleen, sorry. My ears are stuck up.
Not Google specific. There are some media centers and some places that have put in some maker spaces, but not Google specific at this point.
I would just say, Maker Lab idea or something like that would probably give people a better idea, and it makes it sound a little more forward thinking.
We do have a lot of schools participating in the different maker labs and getting their kids into using these advanced printing processes. One thing we have been hesitant to release to some of the schools that's requested is the lasers. There's a little bit scary to have the lasers in a student setting, eyes, fires, and just the simple fact that they put the wrong material under this laser, it will give off hazardous fumes if you don't have a fume hood above it. So we have really kind of been hesitant to let any burning or lasers into our schools.
I'm going to go back to Dick. And does this satisfy what you were looking for, Dick? Or is there a next step you think we should take?
Well, I would sure like to see some data on usage, because when I walk through the schools and with the principal, I say, how much is this used? And I get the educator salute. I don't really know. It doesn't seem to be very much. And I've been told, when I started in this business, putting in Classroom 21, I was told, well, you got to have this because laptops will never be capable of supporting the kinds of programs that these desktops and full PCs will be able to use. And that, frankly, is not true. Maybe we need some more capable laptops for these individual students taking higher level classes, higher demand, technology demand. It just seems to me that I see a classroom that's empty. I don't like to see classrooms that are empty. That causes me problems when I talk to constituents about our capacity issues. So I think I need to see a little more information on use, number of hours, number of times that each computer in the lab gets used. We should be able to get that kind of use data to say, okay, yeah, we definitely have a use, and it's a cost-effective piece. And then I would be convinced. Right now, when I see that some schools still have 6, some schools have 5, some schools have 1, middle schools I'm talking. There's a middle school with 1, there's a middle school with 4, there's a middle school with 0, okay? high school with 5, high school with 6, high school with 1. This data causes me some questions.
Okay, Mark, is that doable to do the metering and so we can get some,
We should be able to break that down a little bit more.
get usage stats? Ingrid? Ms. Boatright?
Kids are, I was just going to comment, kids are going back to desktops. If you're a high-end gamer, you don't do it on a laptop, you're doing it on desktops, and kids are building their own desktops now, which I think is a pretty cool thing. So I think that there are things, the way my kids use them, and I have 2 in college, they don't want to spend a bunch of money on a laptop. A, because someone can just, take it. B, that everything's cloud-based. So all they're looking for in a device is a device to access, their day-to-day stuff in the cloud. But if you're going to do high-end gaming or CAD design or Photoshop, I think that having a computer lab and having the kids being able to like build and take apart, we have $12 million grants with 2 programs, biomedical, I think, and cybersecurity. Am I remembering that correctly? Those computer labs would be great for that, for kids to go in and do that kind of work. I don't really think that we can run a really successful cybersecurity on an HP 360, but I don't know, maybe Mark can answer that. But I think you're right about usage and smart usage, but I definitely think there's still a path forward for computer labs in the schools.
Yes, I would definitely agree with Ms. Boatright. And for our CATE program, we have gotten away from the desktops for some of the more high-end ZBook laptops, just for the simple fact that they can bring them out and move around a lab or a different area as they're working on projects, especially in the CATE areas. It also allows us to lock those in a laptop cabinet at the end of the day to better secure them.
So the next step, I think, is to get that usage data, and then we'll look and see if we have something obvious jump out from that we can act on. You good with that, Dick?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Multifunctional printers.
So multifunctioning printers are the direction that the district wants to go in the future. They have been our steps for the last probably 5 years. We've been working with multifunction printers. It's a lot easier for us. We have a lot more controls on what's being printed, to be able to look at reports on who's been printing, to even meter our users. So some principals say, okay, you're allowed this much budget a month of printing. One of our biggest things we've tried to accomplish over the last 8 years is to stop killing trees and move into the digital age. All of our students use Google Drive, they use Microsoft, we have our own SAN storage. It's just so easy now to move that data electronically that we don't really need to take the time to print. And some of that is an ecosystem thing. Some people just like to hold the piece of paper in their hands. And slowly we're bringing them around. But we do still have some use cases for one-off printers in areas. Some of the big things, every building, your bookkeeper, your data specialist, your nurse, your guidance counselor, some of your office managers. These are positions that handle a lot of PII, personal identifiable information, and they don't really want that sitting on a printer. Now, with our multifunction printers, they do not print out whatever you send to them immediately. You have to walk up to them and badge swipe. But still, some people feel that some of that data, even if they're sitting there and there's other people in the room, they don't want it to be seen. Some of that is also for when IEP meetings and items like that are being held. Documents need to be printed up for the parents while they're there. So that's some of the use cases we use.
And much like just talking about, can we justify all of these printers by usage? Because I know we have meters on all the printers. So.
For the multifunctional ones, we definitely can. The way we spread those out was on an equity based, depending on how big the school and how the school was laid out, so that basically each wing had a copy room or a teacher work room that these would be housed in. Where it gets harder to quantify it is with some of the standalone smaller network printers. We went through a phase in the 2000s and early teens where in new construction, the idea was to put a printer in every classroom or in the workroom between two classrooms. We quickly found out that that was very expensive and not really a way we want to go for the future. But one thing we don't want to do is that if we have these devices that are still functional and we are still got supplies stored for them, we would let the schools use out that toner and that supplies as long as the device still works. We own the device, so it's pretty much a win-win. Now, when it breaks, it's out the door.
That makes sense. Dick?
Thank you, David. Couple issues that I had in my experience with the printers. When I went to a community college and we had printer issues, I looked at it and found out that we had a number of different vendors providing printers. I went out and did a competitive process with multiple vendors to handle all the printers. And I was able to save almost 30% on cost of printers by doing that, by combining them into one vendor. And they competed, the vendors competed by cost and by technology. That was number one. Second thing I found out that many of the multifunctional printers were being misused by teachers that were copying copyright material and passing it out into the class. And if you really want to get into trouble, violate copyrights will get you there. So computer printer controls are also essential. And if you have a printer in a classroom, you basically will have one person with maybe a swipe card to be able to authorize it, but you don't have a lot of control over what's printed. The paper costs are tremendous. The ink costs are also can be significant. And it is a management issue. When I look at the number of printers that we have, I would just like to hear from Mark on what he does to manage costs and manage the use.
It's extremely hard, and your statements are exactly the reasons why we've been moving away from the standalone printers. You would come into a building and see a stack of flyers for a local community organization being printed on the printers and different items like that. That was one of the biggest reasons for the push for the multifunctional printers and the more control with paper cut, because it's very easy to see that X user just printed off 200 sheets of a document. Another good thing about the multifunctionals is the security aspect. The hard drives in these computers are encrypted, so even if the device was to be stolen or taken from our buildings, any print spool data that was still on that device is not discernible, and it's secure. We don't have that with our older ones. Another good thing about our multifunction ones is we do have a contract with Sharp. And anytime there's any firmware updates, their engineers come in and do them. They also come in and do preventive maintenance on them on a regular basis, which is something that is very hard to do when you have on the network printer side that we're down to about 600 now, but that's a lot of cycles by technicians to go check them, work on them when they have jams and malfunctions, and do the necessary updates to keep them network viable.
All right, and any further questions, or is there a next step on this?
The district side, we are steadily working to continue to reduce that number per site as these devices come out of date or either firmware updates are no longer made for them.
Do you have an omnibus contract for your printers, or do you have multiple vendors?
For the printers, they have been multiple vendors over the years. For the MFPs, we do have a contract with Sharp. So it's a one-stop shop. And they also carry our HP plotters. Most of our schools maintain a poster printer in their media center for the school. So that is also on our Sharp contract, and they will maintain those devices also.
All right, so it seems to me that the only next step would be in the future, I don't know, next year, maybe 6 months, you'd give us an update on how we're doing getting rid of the dinosaurs.
I can do that.
Okay, that's the only thing I see, unless Ingrid or Dick have something else. We'll just leave it at that and move on to the next item. And this is Ingrid's focus, the Connect to Learn device contract. And do you want to tee this up, Ingrid? I think you have something specific that you were focused on.
Yeah, I'm not, excuse my voice. This has been brought to me by a number of parents of how I'll tell you right off front, one of the main questions is that I think it's $635 according to that. I had not seen the Connect to Learn handbook before, so that was good. And I just registered my child this year. I think we should probably do we have an electronic version of that somewhere that's easy to find?
Absolutely. It's on our webpage under our Connect to Learn documents under families and students.
So on that document, it said it was $635 to replace the G5, and I think $591 to replace the G1. If you go on Amazon, you can get a G5 for $320. And then addition to which some of the repair costs are a lot higher than you would have out in the community. So my thought was we maybe had a contract with HP that basically did this. Or is it possible that if someone has an issue with the computer, they can take it to a third party and have it repaired or replaced, ordered off Amazon?
As of right now, we maintain an accidental device with HP. So if any other third-party repairer was to touch that device, it would void all warranty. And we do list that in our Connect to Learn documents. We have had parents try to take them apart and fix them themselves. I think one of the biggest values we get is this is not a consumer-grade peripheral. This is a device that has been purposely built for the K-12 industry. So it's had hardened factors in a lot of the corners, a lot of the areas, a lot of the components inside of it. We get that question a lot from families. Hey, I can go to Walmart and buy a $350, $400 computer. And you can. But I guarantee you, if you do the standard 5-foot drop test, you won't have as good of results from that device as you would from these hardened devices that we buy from Dell or HP or whoever.
Do we contract with them and they provide those devices to us because we're K through 12, or is that just something? How does that work?
All of these vendors are listed on state contract. So what we do is when we get ready to buy new devices, we reach out to all the major vendors, and they do provide pricing that is under state contract because of a big purchase buy. But some of the key things that we have to look at is also our service and warranty processes.
Right.
We've had certain vendors that said that they would love to take our business and give us, $5, $10 cheaper on a device. But then they would not supply technicians to be in our local area or be housed close by. So then you're boxing up a device, you're mailing it off, you're waiting 2 weeks to get it back. Our process now is HP has provided 2 technicians to reside here in Beaufort County and to fix our devices daily. So they come by our schools and pick up devices, repair them, and then bring them back to our schools. So we always have to look at the value adds we get from one contract over another.
Okay, so are they dedicated to us, these two HP technicians, or they just basically have a commitment that they'll have technicians in the area?
They have a commitment. They'll have technicians. They are pretty much dedicated to us, but I can't say whether they're 100%.
How many repairs? Because one thing, that's an issue. If you've got a $635 replacement cost, not that it's a huge difference between $300, how do we handle it when people don't have $635? Do we have a process for that?
Basically, any first repair is free. So with the $20 technology fee, your first repair is always free. If the device is stolen and you provide us a police report, you will get one device replacement a year free. But the issue comes in, I guess, like you said, if somebody breaks more than one device within that time period. We do work with parents in need. We provide opportunities to do promissory notes and make payments at the school level. And some parents do that, where they may pay $5 a week for so many weeks to cover the cost of repairs.
So since I'm anticipating David's question.
Ingrid, let me interrupt. Mr. Smith's got his hand up, and then we'll come back to you.
Sounds good.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Within that, I had a parent last year to tell me that actually at the beginning of this year that she turned in her. In the process of turning these computers in at the end of the year, how do you bill parents for any damages that you find? What's that process like? Yeah.
At the end of the year, we do a collection before the kids leave school, and that could be all the way up to the last day of school. And these kids are to bring the device by. We do a check-in, and usually in our media center areas, where they'll get on the line and they'll bring their device and let it be looked at. At the time it's being looked at, it's roughly assessed for damages, and those damages are written out at that time. Usually they are provided to the parents possibly in a report card, or either note is depending on when the damage is, and the notes could be sent home with the students. Different schools do it a little differently. Some schools require that the kids come in and meet with a AP after any damage incident. We have found that this works well. It keeps the parents, the kids, everybody in the loop. Because sometimes we do know if we hand that piece of paper to a student, it might not make it home to the parents.
Correct. Do y'all have this process written down anywhere, or is there a standard practice of this process anywhere?
We basically do the same process every year. At the same time we're evaluating these damages, any damages we evaluate, we also take pictures of and upload with our web help desk tickets. We have found this has been very helpful because a lot of times kids can have a different idea of what initially happened. So we make the kid write out a form of what the damage was. And we compare it to the damages in the photos and we see in person. The HP repair technician is the final say on it though. They will say whether it's within warranty or not. We've had the devices that were shot with BB guns, devices that were ran over twice, who wanted accidental damage repairs, but unfortunately that is neglect, and that would be at the cost of the parents.
So my question is, again, is where can I find a outline process of what is to take place every year? For collecting. Is there an error on this?
We basically do our standard collection process. I mean, we don't really have that written out.
that to me, that's a concern, just because of the fact that I at one instance I have a parent contact me and told me that they were contacted at the end of July about a damaged computer. And I was like, why? And so she was like, well, why are they contacting me at the end of July and school about starting in August about damaged computer? And that they even just got to it or something. And I said, that didn't sound right. I said, maybe you need to contact the school and I redirect it to the school. But that's why I'm asking you about this, because after she contacted me, then someone else contacted me and said that they had just gotten a phone call as well. That's why I'm asking, what's the process, and do we have the process spelled out? Because I couldn't tell them, that I was kind of lost, and I couldn't point them in the right direction of where to get a understanding of how it should take place and where they can find information at.
Some of that could be due to the student's circumstances. Was that student in summer school? If that student was in summer school, they kept their device until the end of summer school, and that might be why they didn't get that until July. I would look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Right. What I'm kind of asking for is some type of AR or some type of guidelines where we can have something, so when we do have this type of case, when we have this type of incident happen, we can understand what the process is, and we can go and you can read up on it somewhere so that you can understand it, so that there is a level of expectation across the district, and there's a district standard on the process, so that parents can understand it and community members. Does that make sense? Am I asking too much, Mr. Scrivener? Am I allowed to ask that?
You're certainly allowed to ask it. I think that would end this conversation if we just write up basically what you just outlined, Mark. If you just write that up, have it reviewed to see if there's any loopholes or problems with the wording, and then we can put it out there and folks can know what to expect when they turn stuff in. That might short circuit some questions for the school folks. There's an underlying issue. I think we've talked about this before, is that each school may do something differently, and I don't know how you're going to handle that in your write-up. So I understand it's not a wham bam thank you ma'am kind of thing you're going to have to do, but that would end this, and I think it's reasonable to give them an expectation. And also it might line up all the schools to do the same thing. I don't know. Tanya?
Yes, sir. I think I don't want to put Colleen on the spot here, but I can almost guarantee, based on the quality of her work, that we have some internal procedures that we train our staff members on at the school levels. So I'm not going to ask anything specific today, but I can guarantee that we have something in internal procedures that we use, like we do many other tasks throughout the district. And so we will look back and capture what we already do, because I know as a parent, I have seen consistency when I deliver and my child deliver her device each year, and they look for the same things every year as we pick up the device or drop it off. So we'll definitely look into that and bring back something in our next meeting.
Satisfy you, Mr. Smith?
Yes, along the term. I hope basically I have something in existence already that we will be able to use as an outline. Is that what I'm understanding?
I don't necessarily believe it needs to be an administrative rule. There are internal procedures that we do to collect or distribute devices. Administrative rule would be something that's more in line, more in line with the board policies. This is deep down into the depths of the operations of the school and the technology department, but I'm certain that we already have something to that effect, and we'll be able to share it with you.
Bring that to the next meeting. I don't think it really makes any difference whether it's an AR or, as long as it's a proper notification to all the parents. That's the point. The point is the parents should know what to expect. and here's what to expect. I think we'll see what comes at the next meeting. Okay, well, and
All right, sir.
and we'll see where it's posted and how it's communicated to the parents.
All right, yes, sir.
Ingrid?
Yeah, okay. So getting back to the issue of, from what I understand from what you're saying, Mr. Shohan, the reason that the HP books, and I know we have iPads, those were donated, right? To the K through 2. And so I don't know when that refresh cycle comes up, if we're going to try and stick with one vendor and go back to like all HP.
Only the devices in pre-K did we have some help with the purchase of them. For our K and first grade, those were purchased with ESSER money.
Okay. So we might be, okay, well, that's neither here, because we've got multiple vendors, but one of the things is, as I understand it, the reason the HPs are more expensive is because they're designed for K through 12, because they're to be more resilient, right, out in the use. So do we track how many repairs we do on an average basis, how many losses we have, how much money parents are billed? Because when I looked into this a little bit, a lot of districts have different programs. Some districts offer insurance, because the other thing is, technically, if I have a laptop that's stolen or damaged, it could be covered under a homeowner's or a renter's policy. That's not in any of our literature. So I know some districts offer insurance, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I guess my main question here is, how big of a problem is this? Because a lot of people are concerned and have been hit with $600, $700 bills for what is essentially mandated by the district. It may be it's a very rare situation, and we can, or is it more common? And then if it is, we are continually running up against a situation where people are getting these large bills and there's frustration and there's inability to pay. I hate to have someone on a promissory note for a $635 computer at $5 a week. And then if it is a big problem, can we look at ways in which we can kind of mitigate that effect on some families, especially, given all of our ESSER funding and whatnot?
We have looked at different insurance programs, and my kids here in Chatham County, we pay $45 a kid for insurance. And It's basically you either buy the insurance or every bit of damage is on the parent. The problem we have is it's hard enough for us to collect our $20 technology fee from all of our students. I don't see how we could collect a higher amount. And then it would get very difficult when you start layering multiple insurance policies and who had it and who didn't on top of each other.
Right.
But we can definitely get some information for you on some of the different companies that do offer those insurance programs.
What I think I would request, and see if this goes with the rest of the committee, is just an understanding of how big a problem it is. How many, because I've had 3 kids and all their devices, and knock on wood, so far no one's damaged one. So I don't know if it is a problem, but I'd like to know how big a problem it is, how much money, how many issues we're having with repair, because it is $635 is a significant cost. Especially, and I know there's a lot of frustration when you think you can get the same device elsewhere for half that money. The other thing I would say about that is I'm not sure it's worth the extra $300 for the different quarters. That may not be, and then the different strengthening if we're still getting the same amount of repairs you would without that. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. I think there's a lot of frustration with parents about that issue.
All right, so the next step is to
I would like, usage, or not the opposite of usage, damage.
And the cost.
Yeah.
Number of incidents and the cost.
And I mean, I'd be interested to know how many parents we have on a promissory note plan or some sort of, how many people can't afford the cost and they're on some sort of promissory note to the district over that.
Can get that information for you.
Awesome.
And we can give that list to Secret Santas.
David, you're getting whimsical. I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, I'm always fascinated that people go into Walmart and pay off the, for some stranger, and they say, okay, I'm going to pay off their bill. So that'd be great if somebody would step up and pay off the bill for some of our folks, but it is a little whimsical. I agree. A little Pollyanna, coming out at me. All right, so that's the next step on this. Okay. Takes us to future topics. I think we have next steps lined up for several of the things we talked about today. So that they'll roll forward to the next one. Anything else, Dick? Anything?
Yeah, I've seen a org chart of the technology department, but I would be curious to see a little more detail in the org chart. I'd like to see job descriptions, and I'd like to see salary and wage information. I know that's sensitive, but we have to keep it sensitive. But I have some concerns about that I'm sure would be answered if I could see that kind of information.
Well, if it is sensitive, then we can't put it out in board docs, and we can't talk about it. Yeah, well, so
it have to be executives, kind of an executive session, but.
All right, Tanya, you tell us. You can tell us whether it's sensitive or not.
Definitely sensitive. However, in our last meeting, we did provide a brief bullet point in detail by the NOC, or the Network Operating Center employees. So that provides some what we felt comfortable providing in public, but also their duties are often sensitive as well. And Mark can probably speak better to this, but you don't want someone who may be absent for, a week on vacation. You don't want everyone, the public, to know that they have a specific duty of monitoring the, cybersecurity and phishing attempts in the district. So not only the salary information may be protected, but it's important that we are sensitive to the specific duties they have with regard to security of our network system. So I just wanted to point that out as well. But we can certainly discuss this with Dr. Rodriguez and the request, and see what his take is on that, and then bring any information, or allow him to bring that back to the chair and for further discussion.
All right, so you'll tell us what's sensitive and needs to be done in executive session. I'm sure Wendy will give a thumbs up on your interpretation. That'll be our next step on that. Okay, Ingrid.
Thank you. This is a little more to the ed tech side, but I would like to see if we have some sort of workflow process for the implementation when we get new technology programs, or when we change vendors, how we roll that out. And, so in a lot of workflow processes, one of the things is you test it, and I know we do that. And then there's like a feedback loop, like how it's actually working out in the field, which I have some reasons to believe that part needs to be a little bit more fleshed out. I think there's a lot of technology that goes into the schools, and then there's a training piece, and there's an implementation piece, and getting feedback to see how it's actually being used. So if there is like a model that we have, or a workflow process that we can look at for implementing new technology or new vendors.
Mr. Smith?
Now, along the terms of what he was talking about in terms of the salaries, all salaries are public dollars, and that is public information. So I was going to say that I know that what Mr. Geyer just asked for, I don't believe that is public, that is not public knowledge. That's private, and their positions, I don't believe that should be private. But I do know that I do believe that the salaries are not, and I do concur with him asking for with that report that he just requested as well. Thank you.
Well, we'll let Wendy be the final call on what is and isn't.
And also when they bring back the answer, if they say something isn't, Also, can they just show us in writing to to help me understand so that I can learn, so it can be a learning, so that I can learn too. So if this ever comes back up, then I can know exactly what to go at and to how to defend my answer. So can they just bring us the information that's stating that why it isn't as well, and where we can find the information at as well for further references. Thank you.
I think Wendy usually gives us a site. Most attorneys do.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
You get some. All right. I think we have a nice full agenda for our next meeting. Now, are we on a regular basis, Robin? No.
No, sir.
I got caught off guard on this one. For some reason, I had it out there on the 27th or something. I don't know. Must have been one of those drugs they had me on. So do we want to establish a regular time each month? Is that worth the effort? I know it would be at an advantage to Robin if she could schedule it.
I think we in the past you all have been meeting the second Thursday, as I go back and look through. Well, no, not necessarily. So no, you don't have this, you've kind of been all over the place. So you don't have an established time.
It's our whimsical board chair.
Go ahead. Yeah. Why don't we all, the three of us, all three of us, get to Robin on what the best day of each month would be and the best time, and then we'll set it up.
Okay.
Okay, Tanya?
Yes, sir. I just want to mention, in case you select the second Thursday of November, it is Veterans Day. So I know that's not a school day. I'm not sure about staff work day, but we might want to avoid that day if possible.
Yes, ma'am. I have to avoid that day anyhow, because I'll be up at MUSC, so.
So that would also when it comes to
Kind of a peculiar celebration of Veterans Day, but yeah, well, we'll see what Robin gets, and then we can all pitch in on and find the best one. Okay,
You just want us to email you, is that correct?
ma'am.
I'm sorry, you just want us to email you and Robin then after the meeting.
Yeah, whatever's best for you. Hopefully something will jump out and be obvious. And then Tanya, I mean, you're also included in that. What's best for you? We'll try to during the work day. How about that? And your work day is what? 7 to 9?
24/7.
just as an FYI, right now, it looks like the third Thursday is pretty open.
Okay.
If that fits into you.
That works for me.
Me too.
All right, we saved a lot of emails.
You will just have to come up with the time.
Well, how does this 2 o'clock work?
Works for me.
Let's make 2 o'clock, and if anybody has a problem, let us know and we can adjust. All right.
So it would be the third Thursdays at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Got it.
Awesome.
Starting next month.
So that would be November 18th.
Good.
All right. The only thing left is adjournment.
So
I
moved.
move we adjourn.
Me too.
All right. No discussion. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie, when you get a chance to, can you please send me your PowerPoint so I can distribute that to the board?
Absolutely.
Okay, moving along. Mr. Webb, thank you for asking for our financial report. But I know you're always on top of that. So everybody should have a copy, and we're gonna let the expert talk about this financial report we have here.
I don't know about expert, but yeah. So we got this from Hayes actually back in August, and so this is for June 2021. And if we have specific questions that I can't answer, we can always you can email them to me, and I can ask Hayes. But of course, we brought down the $25 million bond, and then you can see some of the expenditures. Some of them are labeled, like the Longwood piece and the Port Royal Battlefield, Fort Fremont, Widgeon. And then it looks like at the end right now, what we had as of June 2021 was $19,654,991. And so that's where we are with our available balance. Some of that may be a little bit less because some due diligence has happened since then, but it's just due diligence, just, you know, not in the millions of dollars or anything. So a little bit less than that with due diligence that's happened since then, but that's where we are. Any questions? Okay. If you have questions or think of them, you can always email them to me, and I'll get Hayes to answer them if I don't know. Okay.
Amanda, one question. We currently don't have any outstanding commitments for purchase of fee simple or development rights.
Well, you mean in terms of properties that have been approved but haven't closed?
Right.
We do. I guess there's not a line item on there for that.
Yeah.
Is that correct? There's not a line item on there for that. Yeah, so we can have that added to future finance updates as line items that, you know, as far as money is allocated but not yet pushed out of the account. I'll mention that briefly with the Henry Farm North closing in my monthly report, but
I think that would be helpful for us. That would
be an informative line item. We'll make sure that's included next time.
Yeah, and then just to note, the third line in the header, I assume we just are pulling this forward, but that's not the period that you're reporting for, so you probably ought to take that line off.
Actually, that is the period. That is the financial report. So that report comes from our finance, our CFO. So that item, that report is generated directly out of our system called Munis. So that is the time frame that he reported, and I thought that it looked a little wonky because it actually should be reporting through June 30 of this year. So from July 1 last year to June 30 this year. I think there was a date mix-up, and so next time hopefully he'll be able to give the full count, the full year, because like you said, there are some items where you have approved acquisitions and they're not going to show up in the financials because Hayes won't be able to do that. That's something Amanda and Kate will have to provide as a separate note. And then also there is one passive park item, the Fort Fremont item, that does have an encumbrance of 133 and some change, 133,000 and some change. That was from years and years and years ago because we're finishing up that project. So that's the only passive park that you should see in future financials. But that third line is what that report is reporting.
Well, it says June 2021 on the top of the right-hand column, so it's a little confusing exactly what it is reporting.
On the top of the right-hand column?
says June 2021.
It does, and I'll check with Hayes and see if the July 1 through December 31st, 2020 is incorrect, or if the June 2021 is in. I'll check on that and make sure. He probably meant to do it July 1st through June 30th, and maybe forgot to change that at the top. But I'll look into that. And
it's possible he meant to do that, but these numbers are definitely from 2020 because that transfer from rural and critical to passive parks happened last calendar year. So, and as well as the two park, the Fort Fremont and Widgeon Point numbers are from last calendar year. Those are from July 1 to December 2020, not anywhere beyond 2020.
You're saying the next one should not have those on there, correct?
Correct. The next one, Widgeon Point won't be on there. Fort Fremont will be a different number, and then the transfer won't be on there because it's already occurred.
Right. All right.
We'll get an update out to y'all and have a finance staff member at our meeting.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. All right.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding the budget financial report? Okay, RNC, get it?
All right. I have a couple of items to share with y'all as far as the monthly report. You heard me coming in and out welcoming our new board members. So I'll just say again, more clearly for the record, I'm thrilled that we have a full board and 2 new members from the Bluffton area, Kenneth Frazier and Ford Bartholow. So we're thrilled about that. Our newest board members, like Tom has received, and the new members will receive the retreat packet that we all talked through back in June, as well as any other onboarding materials. But to that point, I think we should set a goal to have another full board retreat type conversation at one of our future meetings. And maybe we want to do that again on site on a property in December or January or something like that. But I just want y'all to be thinking about that as far as getting together now as a full board. To that point, this is another call for board bios. Gail responded last time and her bio has been updated on the website. Mac, I think your bio has been updated on the website, but if you think you haven't sent it to me, please do. That probably means you haven't. I'm not going to call you out because I might mix up your name, but I might mix up my memory of who has and has not. But go ahead and check the website. I'm sure there's something interesting that's happened in your life that you want your bio updated about. So please send that bio information to me so we can get that out there on the Rural and Critical website. All right, so a couple other programmatic things, and I'm just going to do them in the order of time. This coming Saturday, I actually have a presentation in Penrose, North Carolina. Henderson County, North Carolina is contemplating a rural and critical lands type program, which is great. And the laws are a little bit different. The funding is a little bit different in North Carolina, but it is a recognition of their county and their rural communities to come together and protect land. And so they've invited some folks from South Carolina to come speak. And it is a workshop on Saturday with members of their planning commission and members of the citizen committee that are leading this comp plan effort. And y'all may remember a woman by the name of Nina DeCordova. She worked on St. Helena for several years. She is spearheading the citizen effort. And Nina thinks so highly of Beaufort and the Beaufort work that she invited a Beaufort representative. So we all were going to have a presentation for the American Planning Association South Carolina chapter this morning, and that ended up getting canceled. But it is essentially like the same topic being discussed in North Carolina. So what was it really cool? Henderson County. It's right outside of Hendersonville. Yeah. So they're going through some similar growth pains as we are here, what Nina shared with me on the phone, and I'll provide a greater update after the meeting, obviously. But they can accommodate their expected population growth within their urban areas. And their goal is to do that and not to have it bleed into their rural communities. And this community, Penrose, that Nina is working really closely with, is leading that charge. So it'll be exciting to learn from them, and I will report back. And we may have some admirers and friends across the North Carolina border that can share lessons learned as well with our community. I think it's just recognition, and you'll hear this a lot, but Beaufort and Charleston are the two counties in the state that have been doing this type of local funding the longest. We are looked to as an example, and that's something to be really proud of. So I'm excited to see what the presentation, how the conversation will go, and excited to reconnect with Nina and look forward to sharing more. On Monday, the 25th, we'll close formally on the Henry Farm property, and that conservation easement will be recorded in perpetuity to protect that property. So thank you all for affording the county and future generations that conservation opportunity of prime farmland on St. Helena Center for Air's property title. Congratulations to all of us, all of you. Center for Air's property will take title and begin to build an even stronger bridge for folks who may not yet have clear title on their property, but may be very interested in agriculture and forestry and land protection, and really serve as a place to learn how to solve many challenges with great solutions. So I think that is something you all should feel very proud of, and Beaufort County should be very proud of. Looking forward to that closing date. And then finally, our next meeting in November was originally scheduled for Veterans Day, November 11th, and via popular vote, we've moved that to November 4th. So please let this serve as a reminder that our next meeting is in fact a week earlier than normal. It is November 4th.
Just so you know, the county the 3rd through the 5th.
Okay.
And I just got that email today.
Oh shoot! I thought that was when I thought we were supposed to have a workshop at our November 4th meeting.
Yep.
So does that mean that our our workshop folds really nicely into your retreat, or that we're going to need to reschedule? All right, we'll send an update on that. That's fine.
We do it in December.
So
yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah,
Stay tuned, board. Y'all are flexible people. If we please hold November 4th, and that meeting again, unless your social calendars have changed from the last time we took this poll, November 4th was everyone's preference. We will hold a rural and critical board meeting then. It has the possibility of being a workshop where we get into our policies and talk with our county council counterparts and really put our collective stamp on the process. And if it is not that type of meeting, we will still have a meeting because we will need an updated finance report and we'll have other work to do. But I'll figure that out. Thank you.
I don't know what we were going to do for the natural resource part. So maybe we could.
So yeah, maybe it fits right in. That sounds great.
So true. I'm like,
that sounds great. As we've long talked about, and we started talking about this at the retreat, we want to make sure as staff contractors, as Beaufort County staff, as board members, we are upholding the taxpayer wishes with respect to these rural and critical funds, and any efficiencies, any thoughtfulness we can add to the process, we should do. And so an opportunity to really dive deep into that side of things may be on the horizon, but I will confirm.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just going to say, y'all, if you will please mute yourself, even if you're on the phone. We're getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if it's just our system or what, but anyway, if you would please mute yourself so we can not hear some of the feedback. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay.
Any questions?
I'd like to say one thing. I went out and walked the trail at Widgeon Point this morning, and it's beautiful and well kept. So congratulations to Stephanie and her group. And but we saw a couple of adult bald eagles that will tolerated us and let us walk right under the tree where they were. And so it's a great preserve and good thing for this group and for the county.
That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And yes, that pair of bald eagles in the nest on the parking lot of Widgeon Point have returned. So they are out there doing their mating rituals above the lagoon.
That's great.
Talking about eagles, one morning I woke up about 10. I had 2 bald eagles fighting in my yard.
Oh.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, show this morning.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. We can transition into our executive session item, which I had intended if next month was a workshop, so we wouldn't really have time for project review. So I wanted to present this to you with expedience.
Kate?
But we can, yes.
Can I just make one quick announcement before we leave general session?
Absolutely. Please,
Okay.
if you have anything to add with respect to passive parks updates, I'd love to turn the floor over completely. So please do.
Just one quick thing, because I was there all morning today to clean it up in preparation for a tour tomorrow. But the Fort Fremont History Center is going to have its grand opening on November 9th from 3 to 5. So if any of the board members can attend, we'll be sending out a formal press release and an invitation on October 26th. So Amanda will get that so that she can forward it to y'all. But I wanted to just put that on your radar now since we're all here at the meeting.
That's perfect. November 9th from 3 to 5.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephanie. Y'all have done a fantastic job out there as well. So that'll be another great recognition of the success of the Passive Parks program.
We need a motion and a second to go in executive session.
Okay. We're getting ready to move into the executive session. Could I please have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Been moved, both have been moved and motioned that we move into this executive session. So I guess we're in executive session.
few minutes, and then we will need a motion when we come out to vote for this. So we'll need a motion and a second and then a vote. I think you can do the, what is it y'all do, Alice, sometimes when you do the vote without, how do you say?
Without objection.
Without objection, that might be easier to do.
I have one question, I mean, or statement, just for clarification based upon a previous conversation we've had. The staff is still in the process of doing due diligence. That's what I heard. Is that correct?
That's correct. The phase one is not back yet.
Okay, so I would, making a motion, it would be contingent upon
That's correct.
the due diligence is completed in a satisfactory manner. Is that the way to word that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Making it?
Is that the motion?
Okay, that'll be my motion. I make a motion that we accept this recommendation and contingent upon satisfactory response with completing the due diligence.
I second.
It's been moved and second that we move forward with this project.
Was that Mac?
Yes.
Pending a satisfactory due diligence. All in favor?
Raise your hand.
All opposed? Hearing none? Unanimous that we move forward with this.
Great. Okay. That concludes our meeting.
Yep, that's it. Just a reminder again that next month it'll be November 4th. Here again at Crystal Lake, for those of you who want to come, I will still do the WebEx for those who don't want to come, and we'll still have that option.
Amanda, where will that meeting be held?
Here at Crystal Lake.
Okay.
Also, I just want to say it was fun to see the article, and I believe it was in the Bluffton Sun about the passive parks undergoing their development and progress. And then I think a bunch of y'all were on the cover of some magazine up in Beaufort, which I didn't get a copy of yet, but it looked really fun.
Yes, thank you. I'll share the Bluffton Sun article on the Rural and Critical Facebook page. And yes, the Open Land Trust was featured on the cover of the Beaufort Lifestyles magazine. A 4-year-old at my daughter's preschool said he saw me on a magazine, and I think that's just good news that land conservation is reaching the youngest members of our community. So
it was really cool.
Well, I want to thank everybody who's attending and for your work and your passion in this type of work, and staff, and hearing that, may I have a motion for adjournment?
Before we conclude, can we officially commend Rob Merchant for his new promotion? Congratulations, Rob.
Woohoo! Go Rob!
All right.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
Moving second, we officially adjourned. Thank you all so much.